over the last 3 weeks, as Mark has said, from Fowler, from Mark and from John, all around this topic of be rich. And what we can do when we come together is truly great. You know, something that we talk about when we do talk about giving and being generous, and often Mark obviously says something similar to this. He says that our church is not built on the generosity of a few, but on the sacrifice of many. Not just a few people in our church giving big amounts, but actually every single person playing their part, whether big or small, and doing that for the greater good and changing lives while we do it. We've also got values here at MKCC that we've been sharing over these past few weeks as well. And today, it's all about giving. And one of the values is that we're given to generosity. That we would lead the way with irrational generosity, for it is more blessed to give than to receive. It truly is. And as we've already mentioned as well, is that we have these values out in the foyer on the wall. They're up on the screen as well, but they're not just nice words out on a foyer or on a wall or thoughts that we have. Actually, there need to be things that would actually stir us into action so that they actually come off the wall and into our lives so that we can make a difference. We've been looking at a passage in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17, and Paul is speaking to the church, and we've centered it around this, and he's talking to rich people of the time, and he's talking about how to be good at being rich. Now, I've got a bit of a confession to make. Can I share my confession today? Yes. I'm in a safe place, aren't I? Yes. And we're family. Yes. This is good. Well, I haven't been too good at being rich. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I want to share a story of why that actually was. You see, in my business, I'm a property manager, and I check people in and check people out of different rooms all across the city most weeks. And when we check people out, it's the best opportunity to see how the room is, what needs to be changed, replaced, or bought in, and it kind of helps us to move things around. There was a futon in this room that we didn't need anymore, that we could literally just move on. But instead of putting it, or taking it down to the tip, I thought, I could make some money off of this. So I put it onto Facebook Marketplace and literally put it up for £20, bargain, on there. And literally seconds, it was gone. And a lady, I had like 30 responses, but a lady got in there after a few seconds. She said, I'll take it. I was like, great. She's like, I'll have it. And I was like, when can you pick it up? And she said, well, I can't pick it up. Can you deliver it? And I was like, yeah, for a fee, of course. So I chucked on another $5, so £25 now. And she was like, great, can we do it on Monday? This is the weekend. Can we do it on Monday? Yeah, Monday's fine. Get to Monday, and I'm at the house. I'm unscrewing the futon, getting all the bits apart, putting the whole thing into my car. My car is chock-a-block with this futon. I say, I'm going to come and deliver it. She said, actually, can we make it Friday instead? And I'm like, well, if you know, I could do Wednesday. Wednesday's probably good. We can make it in the middle of Wednesday. Yeah, cool, let's do that. So I get to Wednesday, futon's still in my car, and then she's like, you know what, I haven't got any more money now, but I have got some more money coming in on Friday. Can we do Friday? And I was like, okay, look at my car. The car's full, a bit inconvenient, rich people problems, this sort of thing. We get to Friday, and I'm working a full day. I can be there at 5 o'clock. She's like, great. She's like, is it in pieces? And I was like, where? Yeah, it's not. I haven't got a big car to fit it in. She's like, well, when you come, can you assemble it for me? And she's like, I'll even pay you money. And I was like, great, why not? Another $5, so we've got £30 now for this futon. I take it into the house, all the pieces. I'm greeted by her dog, and she had a couple of cats, and she's in this house, and she's got all of her stuff in there. And she starts to tell me her story as I'm putting this futon together. And as I was going along, the community nurse actually comes in. I'm like, oh, okay, she's obviously in need. She needs a bit of help around the house. And she obviously lives on her own. And she's telling me a bit about her story, how she doesn't have people who can stay at her house because there's nowhere for them to be. So this futon could literally mean that people could stay at her house. She sits on this one-seater, big sort of love seat, and she says people who do stay kind of curl up on that, but this futon is a blessing. They sit on it during the day, lay on it at night time. It's going to be amazing. I'm like, awesome. So I'm putting this futon together, and I just had this sense. Do you know how God just speaks to you in a moment? Mark kind of said it when he's when he nudges you, and the Holy Spirit just spoke and just said, James, you're rich. you really don't need the money, do you? And clearly she's in need. You know what a blessing it would be if you just gave it to her for free. And this moment sort of passed, and I kind of looked down, and I realized that there's two different size screws, and I put the wrong screws in the wrong place. And so I'm getting a bit frustrated. I'm looking at my watch, thinking it's Friday night. I could be at home, and I'm trying to just do it quick. And I get to the end, and I show her how the futon works, and comes out. She's happy, I'm happy, and she gives me the money, and I take it. And I walk out. She's happy, and I'm happy, completely ignoring what God has asked me to do. You see, in the moment when I was getting a bit distracted and a bit frustrated, not only does God talk, but I think the enemy likes to whisper things as well. And when we come to a place of giving, I think the enemy starts to whisper things like this. You worked hard for that. He says things like, your time is valuable, so surely that's worth something. Maybe he says, well, you've got better things to do. Well, it's Friday night and I've been here for 45 minutes. You know what? You need to put yourself first sometimes. Have we ever heard that before? Distracting us from the things that maybe God has asked us to do. But when I left there, something really amazing actually happened. And I'm going to tell you at the end of my preach today. You see, it's more blessed to give than it is to receive. More blessed. There's a lot of rich people in the world who aren't that great at being rich. And Paul kind of speaks to the heart of this issue. He's speaking to the church through his apprentice Timothy. And in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17, he says this. He says, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, to be generous and willing to share. We've centered this whole series around this passage. And I want to bring it home today. Paul uses this strong word, command. He says to tell, to direct. It's an instruction, not just another good idea, but he's saying, no, you need to listen up. And the people of the time he was speaking to were rich, and I believe it's relevant to all of us today. Paul says, hey, rich people. Now, before you say, hey, well, I'm not rich, this doesn't apply to me, and I hope you've been tracking with us over the past sort of 3 weeks, because Mark and Fowler mentioned it as well, but if you earn anything between £20,000 and £30,000 a year, which would be quite a few people in the room today, that you're in the top 1% of wage earners in the world. And I heard that, and I was like, wow. But some of us actually can think, oh, well, okay, that might be right, I might be rich, but I don't feel rich. In fact, research was done by YouGov at the time of the last election. They found that people on relatively good incomes did not consider themselves rich, and that the nearer they were to a good salary themselves, the less likely they were to feel well off. While 74% of them earning between £20,000 and £30,000, they said they would consider someone on £60,000 a year to be rich. Then they surveyed those people who earn £60,000 and they said, well, I'm not rich, but if I earn £80,000 a year, well, then I'd be rich. And would you believe it? They surveyed the people who earn £80,000 a year, and they said, well, I'm not rich, but if I earn over £100,000 a year, well, then I'd be rich. See, those who have more are always trying to acquire more. If you have more, you want more. The thing is, you never will feel like you've achieved or got to the destination you want to get to. If you're still not convinced that you're rich, all you have to do is go into your house, go into your room and open up your chest of drawers and look back and survey the piles of folded or unfolded clothes in there. Everyone's got those drawers. Some of you have those cupboards that you open the wardrobe. Who opens those cupboards, the wardrobes? 2 doors with the piles of clothes just lined up. I know some of you don't do that with 2 hands. Some of you don't need 2 hands. You need 1 hand. What do you do? And you slide that door open. Any sliders in here today? Yes, I'm a slider as well. Yeah. And I know some of you who probably didn't put your hand up because you probably are the rich people in here. You don't need any hands. All you have to do is just walk in to your wardrobe. And you survey those clothes in a 360-degree manner. And we all say the same thing, no matter what wardrobe situation you have. I just don't have anything to wear. So we've established we're rich, yeah? And Paul says, hey, rich people. He says, don't be arrogant. You see, arrogant rich people tend to think highly of themselves. And I know that wouldn't be anyone in here today. They might have an overbearing manner. They might have an attitude of being more superior than others. You know, wealth can be ugly. We might know people in our lives, our family members, distant relatives, work colleagues, people we've grown up with. You see, humility is not usually a word that we associate with wealth, but the word entitlement, that can be associated. Money has a way of making us feel superior to or even better than. See, Paul commands, he says, hey, rich people, he says, don't be arrogant and don't put your hope in wealth. That's really uncertain. You see, when we put our hope in wealth, we start to see our hope migrating from that in which we have our hope and our reliance on God, and that to this worldly wealth that we are here on this earth as we attain more and more. Jesus spoke on the topic of money probably more than any other topic in the New Testament. And he did this because money is a master and it will always take us away from the things of God. See, wealth in God will always be in competition for our hearts. It's such a struggle. Jesus addressed it head on. Matthew 6 and verse 24. He says, no one can serve two masters. You cannot serve both God and money. So today, let's make a decision. When you put your hope in wealth, wealth becomes a substitute for God. And we walk around life and we can be focused on God, but this present world that Paul is talking about is all too good at distracting us from the good and gets us focused on the greed. In fact, the world is fixated on comparison. And companies are fixed on really wanting us to be in the upgrade cycle. And you all know this. I've got my phone, for instance. I'm at the end of my contract. I was on a 3-year contract with this phone. This is the iPhone XR. 3 years ago, it was already a year old. And so 4 years have gone on. You know, 4 or 5 different models have come out now. And it's quite interesting is that now I'm at the end of my contract. The amount of letters and the bombarded on social media and everything's telling me, get a new phone. A bigger one, a shinier one. The iPhone 13 Pro Max. It has a better camera. It has a better battery life, everything. Yet I paid off my phone. And I pay like £9 a month for this phone. Yet I can get the new one for £35 a month. And we upgrade our lives. But you see, these companies often do this for so many things that we have. In fact, they get us to a place where get the best version, get the best thing. Not even that we want it, but they convince us that we need it. We do this with fashion. We do this with other devices. We do this with our cars. We do this with our houses. And I often wonder this. I often wonder that when we work hard to earn the money to buy the new shiny things every year or every couple of years, and we have it for a moment, and it's nice for a moment, and I always think, then what? Then what? Psalm 49, verse 16, it says, do not be overawed when others get and grow rich, when the splendor of their houses increase, for they will take nothing with them when they die. Their splendor will not descend with them. We're here for such a short time, and we take nothing that we have with us. I was talking to Jill Bowker, if you know her, in the first service, and she said, it reminded me of something that I mentioned to a friend this week. And she said, you know, in 100 years' time, people aren't going to remember the house you lived in or the car you drove, but the person you impacted, well, they're going to remember what you did and how you helped them. That's what matters. Even in Luke chapter 12, Jesus speaks about this in a parable. And he talks about the rich man who was a fool. He says, the ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. A rich man who now has extra. And he thought to himself, what should I do? I have no place to store my crops. Rich people, problems again. Then he said, well, this is what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and I'll build bigger ones. And then I'll store my surplus grain. And then I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you fool. This very night your life will be demanded from you. And then you will get what, and then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? Wow. You see, a man who didn't have a big enough storage container, and we can relate to that. Some of us have those. So built bigger ones. And yet his life was demanded. His life finished that night. And yet everything he had was then a waste. Yet imagine the good he could have done with all of that grain. Imagine the people he could have fed. Imagine the blessing he could have been in that community, in that town, in that country, with all that he had. We're only here for a time. So I think we need to use the time, not just to consume, but to contribute. You see, when we earn more to upgrade our lives, I think we need to challenge that as well. And I want to challenge you with that, is that when you upgrade the standard of your living, we need to upgrade the standard of our giving today. Because what actually happens that when we start to upgrade and start increasing, and when we do most years earn a little bit more, what happens with our giving? Is it just left behind? Or are we still tithing the 10% on the extra? Are we still being generous with what we have? In fact, is there a time in a way that we can grow our giving if we just deferred maybe an upgrade? Imagine what impact we can make to the lives of others. You take this £9 phone. I could have spent £35 on a phone, but if I just saved this, if I had this for another year, I would save £26 a month. And if I put £26 a month aside, over the year, I would have £312. Do you know what you could do with £300? You could actually go into the YMCA that we heard about last week and create 5 home packs for young people. And you could put bedding and towels and crockery and glasses and some food essentials, and you could put that into the room. You could get the other £12 a month that we had there and buy 5 Bibles that you could then put on the top. And then the young person who finally gets that room for the very first time walks in and is blown away because they've got everything they need. And then on top of that, they would have a leaflet that would say, from MKCC, we are for you. Why? Because you matter to God. And if you matter to God, then you matter to us. You see, we should be I don't even know if that's a thing or not. And I said that in the first service, but maybe we should make it a thing. Because we have the impact to not only upgrade our lives, no, upgrade their life. And we need to be more people who are excited about this sort of thing. Imagine if each and every one of us just deferred one upgrade for one device this year. A lot of people can be impacted in our city. I think we should make that a thing. And maybe I should keep hold of my £9 phone. Maybe later on in the year I'll maybe show it. So I hold myself. You hold me accountable, please. Because I want to make a difference, and I believe you want to as well. You see, we need to have more people in this world, more people in this room today who are content with where they are. See, 1 Timothy 6:6 says, but godliness with contentment, is great gain today. It's great gain. Contentment creates space and room to give. Contentment creates space and room to give. Paul also speaks in Philippians to the church there in chapter 4, verse 11. He says, I am not saying this because I am in need, for I've learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need. I know what it is to have plenty, for I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation. Whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want, he said, I can do all this through him who gives me strength. He has the secret of being content and that is simply Christ's union with us, the living. Exalting Christ is the secret of being content, and it's the source of Paul's abiding strength, as we read here. Paul's saying, don't put your hope in wealth. It's really uncertain. In fact, when you put your hope in, it actually means you're leaning on. So what are you leaning on today? Are you leaning on the very things in this world? Maybe you're leaning on wealth or money or accumulation, which then starts to actually, you find identity in the things that you have. Maybe you start to acquire more and hoard more, and actually it becomes more of a security blanket for us. In fact, in Proverbs 18, it says, the wealth of the rich is their fortified city. They imagine it a wall too high to scale, trying to protect themselves. Their hope is in wealth. And it's so dangerous to lean in this direction. Fellas, let me ask you a question today. How much money would you need to secure your future against all imaginable eventualities? And for every wage earner here today, no matter what it is, the answer is always the same. More than we currently have. We'll always need more. And when wealth becomes our hope, we'll feel compelled to hoard, compelled to keep hold of. We'll start building walls up, as the word said, like a fortified city. And then every time that we might lose money, man, it rocks us. But can I tell you something today? You never miss money that you give. You never miss money that you give. You miss money that you lose. You lose some money out of your pocket. You lose some money in a bad investment. You lose some money by giving it to a cousin who doesn't pay you back. But you don't miss money you give. I don't think about the 20 pounds that I gave to Angel Tree at Christmas time. I don't lay awake at night going, oh, that 20 pounds I gave. All the coffees I could have bought. No, we don't miss it at all because it's gone to do something good. And we need to do more good. I guarantee today, you give £10 today, you won't miss it. No, you know it's going to make a difference in the people's lives through all the charities that we've spoken about, because every single penny is going to go to those people. And we're going to tell you more and more about how we're impacting their lives. This is good. You see, when you have little, you actually don't put your hope in what you have. And this is why the less a person has, the easier it is for them to give and be generous. They don't live with this illusion that their future is secured by their savings. I'm not saying we can't have a lot. I'm just saying, are we being generous and are we putting our faith and our hope not in what we have, but in God? We all have a God-shaped hole, a God-shaped void in our life that no upgrade, no thing would ever fulfill us. No, because only God can fulfill us in that way. So put your hope in God. 1 Timothy 6 again says, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, not to put your hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but put your hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. You see, God wants us to enjoy this life, and He is the one who will richly provide for us. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, do loads of good deeds, be willing and generous to share. And then the passage goes on. It says, in this way, they will lay up treasure for themselves, not in this present world, but as a firm foundation for the coming age, treasures in heaven, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. This is what it is about living in this world. Since we have more, we need to do more and give more. If you've been blessed with more, if you've been blessed with extra, I almost feel that's a responsibility of ours to share, to be generous, to give what we can to make a difference in this world. Not just to accumulate, not just to consume, but to contribute. So to keep your hope from migrating, we need to pre-decide today. Do more and give more. So the lady who has the futon, she's happy and I'm happy with my 30 pounds. And this is Friday night, And I go home and everything's great. I get up Saturday morning and my daughter comes to me. She's 5 and she looks at me and she's like, Daddy, Mummy and I are going to go to the shops. Can I have some money? Do you know how if you're a dad, those daughters, they kind of look at you with their eyes and their wallet just falls open. And I was like, yeah, I've got some money, £30. There you go. The money that I got Friday night is gone Saturday morning like that. And we put our hope in that. In that moment, God just reminded me again, convicting me, just saying, you could have given that futon for free. You didn't need that money. You already had that money in the bank anyway. Sunday morning comes along. It's week 2 of Be Rich, and Mark's speaking. He gets to the end of Mark's message, and he asks every one of us a question. He says, have you seen a need this week that you've ignored and walked on by? Like a freight train. Like he's kicked me in the face. Like it got me to the core. In that moment, I just said, Jesus, forgive me. I could have done better. I will do better. So I went home and I was having lunch with my wife, with Amy, and I was telling her this whole story of what happened. And she said, well, you know what you have to do. And I was like, I do. I know what I have to do. So I got in my car, drove down to the ATM, pulled out £30. I put it in an envelope, drove over across the other side of Milton Keynes in the pouring rain, got out and put the £30 through that lady's letterbox. And I drove away. I then pulled up on the side of the road. And I messaged her, because sometimes it's weird when someone just puts money through your door, doesn't it? And I said, you might be wondering who put this £30 through your door. It was me. I said, I'm a man of faith, and when I was building your futon for you on Friday, I just really felt God say, just give it away for free. But when you gave me the money, I took it anyway. I was just being honest. Upon reflection, I've had a change of heart. I want to give you the futon free of charge. I said, you helped me by clearing some space, and you know what? It was a pleasure assembling it for you. I hope it blesses you and all those who take rest on it. And may God richly bless you. Seconds later, she comes back and was just like, OMG, thank you so much. You didn't have to do that. This means the world to me. You don't know how much it means. I just don't know what to say. I said, my pleasure. I said, my Christian faith causes me to do good. Faith in action. And I think there needs to be more good in the world today. And then I think there's always time for evangelism. So I put a little caveat and I said, if you're ever in the Old Brook neighborhood on Sunday, you're more than welcome. Come to MKCC. Or if you can't, then go online and go to mkcc.org.uk. And be blessed and have a good week. And she said, thank you so much. And thank you so much for the information. Some of us can recall a situation that's maybe similar. And it's never too late to make it right. And I said, next time, I will listen to that sweet, small voice of God. And I will follow through. Because I want to be better at being rich. I want to be better in my faith and my walk with God. I want to be more in my community. I want to be more in my family. I want to be more to God. And maybe that's just it. Maybe these 3 things to take away. To be more, do more, and give more. In Jesus' name, amen.